There's an envelope on your desk. You already know how much is inside, and you already know what it buys. You're going to take it, not because you're a bad person. You'll tell yourself that 100 times tonight, but by the time the envelope reaches your desk, you've already become the kind of man it gets sent to. But you didn't start here. Nobody starts here. Let's go back to the day you still believed. Level 1, the intern. You're 22, and you actually believe. That's the part you'll miss the most. You take the unpaid internship because the cause matters, and you photocopy and you fetch coffee, and you stay until the cleaners turn the lights off. You think the work is the speeches. It isn't. The real work happens in a hallway, in a lowered voice, in a favor that nobody ever writes down. One night your boss asks you to lose a document, just one. It would embarrass a friend of the campaign, and the friend has been generous. You hesitate. He smiles, the warm, patient smile of a man who has watched 100 kids stand exactly where you're standing. And he says, "This is how we keep the good guys in power." You lose the document. It feels like nothing. That's the trap. The first one always feels like nothing. You're 22, and your conscience doesn't scream when you cross the line. It just goes quiet. Level 2, the Aide. You're 25, and they gave you a badge with your name on it, and a desk with a door that closes. You run the schedule now, which means you run the access, which means people who used to ignore you suddenly remember your birthday. A lobbyist takes you to dinner. The restaurant doesn't have prices on the menu. He doesn't ask you for anything. That's not how it works, not yet. He just becomes your friend. He makes your hard days easier, and your problems quietly disappear. You tell yourself you'd never let a free dinner change your vote. And that's true. The dinner doesn't change your vote. The dinner changes who you call back first. You're 25, and they almost never buy your decision outright. They just buy a little piece of your attention, over and over, until one day you can't tell which thoughts started as yours. Level 3, the Councilman. You're 29, and your name is on a ballot for the first time, and the night you win, you feel like the whole city handed you its keys. The seat is small, the power is not. You can move a permit. You can kill a zoning complaint. You decide with a phone call whose neighborhood gets the new road and whose gets the noise. And the developers know it. The first real envelope arrives wrapped as a consulting fee. Legal, deniable, clean. You stare at it for a long time. You think about the intern who lost one document and felt nothing. You take it, and this time you feel something. You feel the click of a door locking behind you. You're 29, and you understand the oldest rule in the building. They don't catch you because you took the money. They catch you because you forgot how scared you were the first time. Level 4, the mayor. You're 34, and they put your hand on a Bible on the courthouse steps. And the photographers shout your name like you're already someone. A city is a machine, and now you hold the levers. Contracts, jobs, police budgets. You don't have to ask for anything corrupt out loud. You just let the right people understand what would make you happy. And the city's money quietly flows uphill toward your friends. You do real good too. That's the part nobody warns you about. You go home some nights genuinely proud, and then you sign the contract that overcharges that same school by triple, because the company that wins the bid is the company that funds you. You're 34, and you've discovered the most comfortable lie in politics. The good you do in daylight pays for the deals you make in the dark. Level 5, the Congressman. You're 39, and you fly to the Capitol, and the building is so beautiful, it almost makes you forget what happens inside it. Now, the money isn't in envelopes. It's in committees. A single vote you cast can move $1 billion, and the people who want that billion will do anything short of handing you cash. They write your campaign checks. They hire your cousin. They build you a think tank. And in exchange, they ask for one small thing. Buried on page 400 of a bill nobody will read. You vote yes, the room doesn't gasp, nothing burns. A man you'll never meet gets a little poorer, and a man who funds you gets a yacht. And your approval rating goes up because you said the right words on television. You're 39, and you've learned the terrible secret of the whole system. The crime is never illegal. They wrote the laws, they made sure the worst thing you do is also the most legal. Level 6, the senator. You're 45, and there are only 100 people in the country with your job. You have stopped thinking of yourself as one of the governed. You buy a stock 3 days before a law you wrote makes it soar. You call it a coincidence on camera, and a strategy in private. Your net worth has no honest explanation. And no one with the power to ask is interested in the answer. You are untouchable now, and untouchable is a drug stronger than money. You stop returning calls from the people who elected you. You start to believe the polls are a formality. You catch yourself in a quiet moment, unable to remember the last thing you did purely because it was right. You're 45, and the scary part isn't that you became a monster. It never felt like a transformation. It felt like a series of reasonable decisions, each one easy, each one small. Level 7, the power broker. You're 51, and you don't need the title anymore. You've become something better than elected. You've become necessary. You decide who runs. You make a young senator with one call, and you end an old one with another. Presidents take your meeting. You sit behind the throne where the real power has always lived, because the smart money stays off the plaque. But power broking is a high-wire act, and somewhere in a federal building, a young prosecutor with nothing to lose has started pulling a thread with your name on it. You're 51, standing at the top of a ladder. You climbed one small sin at a time. And for the first time in years, you feel the old thing again. Fear. Level 8, the investigation. You're 56, and the machine you serve turns to look at you. You finally understand it was never loyal to you. It was only ever loyal to itself. The story breaks on a Tuesday. The same people who took your money stop taking your calls. The friends who built their careers on your favors discover all at once that they barely knew you. When the rot is exposed, the system offers up one man to be the rot, so the rest can call themselves clean. You can fight and drag a dozen of them down with you, or you can take the deal. A quiet plea, a soft landing, a story where you alone were the bad apple. You're 56, and you're learning the last lesson the building never says out loud. Power doesn't protect you. It uses you until you cost more than you're worth, and then it feeds you to the crowd and goes looking for someone younger. Level 9, the statue. You're 64, and somehow you survived. Because you knew where every body was buried, because you were more useful alive than disgraced. They don't put men like you in prison. They put you on a board. They give you a foundation with your name on the door and an oil portrait in a hall, where schoolchildren walk past and assume you must have been a great man. You got everything. The power, the money, the marble. You sit in the big quiet house you can't quite feel at home in. And you try to remember the cause you believed in at 22. And you find you can recall the words but not the feeling. Somewhere along the way you spent it, a little at a time, and never noticed the moment it was gone. You're 64, and you finally understand the cruelest joke of all. They don't punish the corrupt. They promote them and teach the next generation to admire them. And somewhere tonight, in a building full of marble and lowered voices, there's a 22-year-old photocopying until the lights go out. He believes the work is the speeches. He believes there are good guys and that he's about to become one. His boss is walking over with a warm, patient smile and a single document he needs to lose.